the one and only podcast by a blind wrestling fan.
Wrestling, 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 wrestling in the dark!
Hey up guys, welcome to another episode of WITD. It's time to talk about WrestleMania 36 Part 1, my experience of it. This was a weird WrestleMania. I guess that's not a hot take. We all knew it was going to be weird, and it was. And I gotta admit, just right off the bat, I don't really think wrestling works with no fans. I haven't been enjoying these no fan shows over the last couple of weeks, but I couldn't bring myself to not watch WrestleMania as a wrestling fan. Admittedly, I didn't watch the whole thing, but I watched the matches that I was interested in, and that was Bryan versus Sami, Seth versus Owens, and just out of morbid curiosity, I watched the main event, that Boneyard match between AJ and Undertaker, and I'll talk about that towards the end of the show. I just thought that this was just a weird presentation all around. I was skipping through it at one point. I knew that I didn't want to watch any of the first couple of matches, so I was skipping through to get to the Bryan and Sami thing, and I stumble across this bit and there's just an utter silence, and I'm like, what is going on? And then all of a sudden there's a honk honk, and Becky presumably pulling up in a truck for her entrance it just scared the shit out of me, I'm not gonna lie. It made me jump out of my skin, and then it was silence again, and then she did it again and it still made me jump, and I just felt like a right idiot. But skipping through as well, so I saw some of the Corbin and Elias stuff, and I just thought it seemed so awkward. Bryan and Sami was a lot of fun though. Just for the character work from Bryan, really. This was just Sami Zayn getting beaten up. I almost made a little slip with Sami Zayn's name there, because I just finished doing my Wrestle Queendom review, and there was someone in that called Sami Zayn, but it was Sami Zayn here, so it was just him getting beaten up, getting taught a lesson for disrespecting Bryan and Drew, and I thought that it actually worked pretty well. Cesaro and Nakamura got involved early on, and Drew sort of attacked them and sent them packing for a little bit. Sami was just avoiding getting in the ring as much as possible, teasing getting counted out, etc, etc. At one point Bryan's just like, just count him, because the ref's trying to get him back in, and Bryan's like, just count him, and the ref starts counting. Sami acts like he's going to get a count out victory, but Bryan sort of fakes him out, goes out there, grabs him, drags him back into the ring, and then just makes him eat his punishment, because this whole next bit is just him beating the ever-loving crap out of Sami Zayn. He lays in kicks, just endless kicks. It does his suicide dive. He drives Sami Zayn into the barricade at one point. I actually thought that Cole did a decent job during this match, not the best, but it also wasn't the worst. It was a little bit confusing at the beginning, just because I'm trying to listen to what's going on, but all the guys around the ring are talking trash. It's really loud, the ref's shouting, Cole's trying to shout over them, and in the end it just became this wall of noise, and I had no idea what was going on. But once it actually settled into the match and Bryan started doing his thing, it actually started becoming enjoyable, because Bryan was showing a really, really aggressive side in this match. At one point he starts laying in these chops, and he's like, you think Drew's a nobody? Chop. You're a nobody? Chop. You haven't earned anything? Chop. And then Cole's like, is Sami crying? And Sami was just selling this beating the whole time, just doing his best little Sami Zayn acting like, oh god, and acting like he's in pain, and it was brilliant. And then at another point Bryan's like laying in kicks, and he's like, you did this to yourself, and lays in even more. But the problem is that Drew is there on the outside with him, and Cesaro and Nakamura get involved again. Drew chases, attacks them, and they drive him into the steel steps. Bryan goes out to defend his friend, and when he comes back in to do a top rope move, Sami catches him with the Helluva Kick, and retains the Intercontinental Championship. I thought that Bryan's performance was really, really cool. I like that they were playing up that Gulak's brought out this aggressive side in him. I really like that you could hear him talking trash really clearly. That's the one thing that I do think has sort of heightened the experience about the crowd not being there, is that you can really hear the trash talking between them. And at those times when it goes quiet and Bryan's just like, you did this to yourself, it's just actually quite impactful. And I did have fun with this match, to be honest. I'm really not sure on the rating. I usually rate things at 6, but I just don't know. I just gotta give it like a 4+. Can't quite say it's a 5 because it wasn't the best match of even the night, really, I don't think, but it was a really solid, enjoyable couple of minutes of watching Sami Zayn just get the piss beat out of him. And I hope that Bryan doesn't get annoyed at Gulak about this, because that partnership is really cool, although a full rivalry will also be really cool, so I guess it's a win-win situation either way. Poor Sami though, just losing his Intercontinental Championship. How long's he had that? Not long, I don't know, because I haven't been keeping up to date with the main roster as much, but that's your championship done, Sami. Good luck, because you ain't getting one anytime soon. Seth Rollins versus Kevin Owens was quite enjoyable. I'd said before that I haven't been keeping up to date with the main roster stuff, and because of that I haven't seen a lot of this Monday Night Messiah character, and I actually thought that the recap was pretty useful just to get me up to speed with the story and give me a little glimpse into what Rollins has been like over the last couple of months. And I actually quite like his delivery on this Messiah character, being all wordy and holier than thou. He's always been a cocky little shit, but this time his ego's got really, really big, and now he thinks he's some kind of god, and just the way he speaks and the way that I imagine that he carries himself, it's really easy to picture it, and I actually think that that's really cool. It allows Kevin Owens to be this rebellious sort of fighter that's just been unleashed and he's looking for retribution, and that's sort of the Kevin Owens that everyone loves and has always wanted. And I actually enjoyed Owens in this more than I've probably ever enjoyed him, really. The problem with this match is Tom Phillips. I do hate him. Anyone who isn't familiar, who might be new, I have a long running feud with Tom Phillips because of a couple of things. He doesn't do a terrible job with this match, but he does have a couple of Tomisms. We'll get to that in a minute though, because it's not too far into the match. Early on, Seth goes for a stomp, but KO avoids that, lays in as many shots as he can. He beats up Seth on the outside, breaks the count, beats him up some more, and then we get the first Tomism, and we get Rollins sending Owens into the apron, and we get the hardest part of the ring call, and then he just doesn't say what he did. I think Owens was going to try and do the apron bomb on Seth, but Seth countered it. I have no idea what he did as the counter though, but he did end up delivering a Falcon Arrow on the apron as well, and then he did something else, and Tom was just like, he wipes out Kevin Owens, and I hate that sort of call. I'd really like the bit where Rollins is throwing Owens into the barricade and he's talking trash to him. He's calling him a disappointment, a failure. He asks him what his kids are going to think, and then Owens starts fighting back into it. He gets a cannonball and a top rope sent on. Rollins, being a nasty little prick though, gets him in the eye, goes for the buckle bomb, delivers a pair of super kicks, tries for the curb stomp, but he gets power bombed. Seeing that he's probably going to lose, he then just clocks Owens with the ring bell and gets the DQ loss. But Owens isn't happy with this. He tells him, you're not going to end it like this. These aren't the actions of the god that you claim to be, they're the actions of a little bitch. Rollins is in his element now because Owens restarts it as a non-DQ match, no rules. Rollins is just wandering around going, I can do whatever I want. Every time the ref tries to get him back in the ring, he just starts laying into Owens with weapons. He clocks him in the head with the steel steps twice. He chair shots him. Owens tells him, "You're always going to be a little bitch," and he chair shots him again, tells him that he just can't shut up, and talks a bunch of trash. But then Owens ends up fighting back. He hits Rollins with the ring bell, puts him on the announce table, climbs the WrestleMania sign, jumps off, crushes Rollins, gets him back in the ring, delivers a stunner, and picks up the win. I just thought that it was a really action-packed match for how long it felt like it went by. It passed by really, really quickly, and to be honest, I didn't have a whole lot of investment in it, and I was actually quite surprised, because Kevin Owens hasn't really been someone that I've enjoyed a whole bunch over the years. In fact, a lot of the time when people have loved him, I've just not seen anything in him, but I really enjoyed the way he was acting with Rollins here, the trash talk. It was really easy to imagine his body language and just visualise this match, and the story beats spoke for themselves, so even with Tom Phillips on commentary, it was still really, really clear what was going on in the match. The same cannot be said for the main event. Man, was this just a weird experience, this boneyard match between AJ and Undertaker. I just don't know what to say, really. I have no problem with wrestling being silly, and I have no problem with these sort of things. I enjoyed Final Deletion as much as the next guy. Unfortunately, wrestling doesn't have audio description, and I've made this perfectly clear in other videos. These sort of things, I have no problem with them, and I think that they should be able to do them, but if you're going to make the choice to not have any commentary to make it feel more of a dramatic moment, then you need to have audio description, because at the end of the day, let's just put it like this: subtitles are on most things these days. At the end, why is it that they can get subtitles on WrestleMania, but we can't get audio description as blind people? Just because I'm one of the only people, it doesn't mean that I am the only person. I'm sure that there's a little bracket of us that all watch wrestling, and I'm sure that there's a few blind people that watch this that were like, I just wish there was audio description. And for the most part, it was just thuds and grunting and heavy breathing. It was a bit like being on Pornhub, to be honest. Just a really lame version of Pornhub. Honestly, it was just a really weird experience for me. You had AJ just wandering around at the beginning. I mean, you get like crickets and Undertaker's music, and then AJ's music hits, and something happens, and he's just wandering around what I presume is the graveyard, going, "I'm ready, man, where are you? Where are you?" Just looking for him. And it was just, I was like, okay, this is not what I expected. I don't know, I thought that they were going to have a bit more grit to it, but I suppose it's my own fault for assuming that as well. Taker eventually shows up. They do some motorbike noises if he's riding towards the fight, and there's some hillbilly rock music going off for an obnoxious amount of time, and they brawl around, and Taker starts beating up AJ, and as AJ's trying to escape, he's like, "Where you going, boy? Where you going, Alan?" Where are you going, Alan? Oh, when Taker shows up as well, AJ's like, "Man, I didn't think you were going to show up. Did Michelle know you were out this late? I dug your grave for you." I did enjoy AJ's trash talk during this. He was, in my opinion, way better than Undertaker in this. Taker was he was a little bit cringy. I can't lie. I'm not gonna lie about it. I found it a little bit embarrassing. It was just heavy breathing, and all of his trash talk was just really lame. It was just like, "Where you going, Alan? Oh, where you going, boy? I ain't done with you yet," and all that sort of stuff. And I don't know what I wanted from it, but it definitely wasn't this. At one point, AJ ends up in the grave, and then Gallows and Anderson show up. They try to stop Taker. He fights them, presumably. There's just a lot of music and stuff going on. And then the sort of highlight for me was sort of when AJ got the upper hand. He's talking trash to Taker. He's calling him a broken down old bitch, telling him that he doesn't have it anymore. And he goes to try and bury him, turns on the digger, but Taker rises from the dead, comes back, attacks him, and in the end, some sort of spot happens. I think I've been told by someone cited that AJ got thrown off some kind of roof kind of thing, and then Taker cradles his head and tells him nobody's given him this fight before. AJ's telling him he's sorry. He's like, you don't need to be sorry, you put up a hell of a fight, boy. And then he buries him, and that's it. AJ's buried, literally, or not figuratively, literally. He's literally buried. He's just such a weird match, man. This sort of makes me nervous for the John Cena Fiend thing, because I was sort of expecting this to be sort of a grittier, badass type thing, and I was expecting Cena and Wyatt to be like a sort of horror kind of thing, and now I just think that it's going to be ridiculous. I'm so nervous for it. They're probably not going to have commentary again, and I don't know what I think of this. I really hope that AJ has a change of character because of this. I don't think that they should treat being buried alive as something that's just like, okay, yeah, you pop back right up from that. I think that they should use it to actually change AJ's character a little bit. I think I like where they were going with this, what they were getting at with AJ sort of wanting to turn Taker back into his old self. It's not that he doesn't have respect for Taker, he just wants Taker to be his old self. He's like, come on, be the dead man, like, you should have buried me by now. He's just sort of begging him to be better, and then towards the end he loses faith in that, and he tells him that he's a broken down old bitch, and he's desperately in the end trying to get Taker to fire up, and when Taker does end up burying him, AJ sort of gets what he wants, and I think that that's what he'll end up saying. It was a weird experience. Like I say, for the most part, there was just loads of dramatic music and thudding and grunting and all of the cheap, horrible Pornhub stuff that I said before. It was fun to a point, but also sort of boring. And it's one of those things that I'm sure everyone else sort of appreciated. I'm sure it was probably divisive. I don't know whether you loved it or hated it. You should let me know in the comments. But yeah. For me, it was just one of those things. I got a little bit left out of it, and it's just one of those prime examples of why we need audio description. Fun though. I hope they use this WrestleMania as a sort of learning curve, that they can do these sorts of things and not need to have everything be in the ring and still tell stories and it still be fun, because even though I didn't necessarily enjoy this myself, I'm sure other people did, and it's just horses for courses, really. If you've got anything to say about WrestleMania, you know where the comments section is, or you can find me on Twitter at Mason_WITD. If you've enjoyed this, click the like button, subscribe so you never miss an episode of Wrestling in the Dark again. I should be doing a review of WrestleMania Part 2, providing that there's matches on it that I'm actually interested in, because at the minute I have no idea what the card is. Yeah, like I say, I just hope that you enjoyed this episode. I'm off, and you should have a good one.